Right, I've set a 10-minute timer for this, and there's a reason for that, which is I'm going to talk about marketing strategy, which could take many days to write one, and many days to explain one. So I'm going to do it in 10 minutes. So I'm going to really rattle through this at pace. So here we go. Right, so marketing strategy in 10 steps, off we go. Why do you need a marketing strategy? Consistency, so all of your messaging is consistent across all of the channels that you use, the way that you talk, how you talk, and who you talk to. Accuracy, so that you know what it is you're saying and why you're saying it at any given time. If it's a business that requires a tech business, for example, like Graham's, it's important to get the knowledge correct. Professional, so that you come across properly and well. It's all about you, so it's about your business, but it's also about connecting the you and the business with your audience in the right way. And money, why would you invest in a marketing activity when you don't know what you're doing with it? So it's important to get it in place so that you get best value for money. First point, research. So you can't write a business plan, you can't write a marketing strategy, you can't really do anything without understanding what you're doing first. And the ways that we take a look at your research, who you are, how you are, your audience, where they are, and so on, is to look at a number of areas. First of all is take a look at your existing clients. And you can look at that through your accounts. You might have some data in there about them. You can look at you talk to your sales team, the people that you work with, and so on, so you can understand demographics, who they are, what their drivers are, the things that are important to them. That gives you a background of where they're going to be and how you can talk to them. Competitors, you can research again who they are, what their USPs are, how they're framing their messaging, and so on. Social media metrics, really powerful. Lots of metrics, particularly on Facebook. LinkedIn also very good. So you've got the kind of domestic platform and the professional platform. So that can give you a really good mix of data, and there's lots of demographic information in there, and so on. SEO, so search engine optimization, lots of tools out there that you can take a look at. So you can look at traffic, what people are searching for, where they're searching for it, how, and so on, and the words and the phrases that they're using. So you'd be able to build the right language around your business. And target audience, who is it that you want to talk to? With all of the data that you're gathering, it's important to think about who you want to speak to, because there's no point speaking to a 9-year-old about selling houses because they don't care. So, again, important to understand who your target audience is and record it. So within that, you look at personas, client personas, and so on. Key elements. So I'm just going to rattle through these 2 slides very quickly. Business objectives, obviously very important. Everybody's got a business plan, haven't they? Even if it's in your head, it's really important to attach your objectives to your marketing objectives, of course. Key statements, vision statement and mission statement, key messages, the values of your business, so your ethos, your ethics, tone of voice, how you want to speak, whether you're corporate friendly, and so on, the words you use, and your brand. So business objectives, marketing objectives, and SWOT. SWOT analysis is really important for a marketing strategy. Obviously, it helps you to understand those 4 areas: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you'll actually be able to pull out more than you might think from that in terms of how you develop your marketing activity in the end, and actually what those areas are within your business at the moment that need working on. Business objectives are absolutely really important. So as marketeers, we need to understand what it is you want to achieve, because it's really easy just to bang out a load of stuff and be really happy about it, but actually it might not really achieve what you want. So that's a really important area. Marketing objectives are always attached to those business objectives, so that, you know, obviously your activity will deliver over the long term. And I say long term because marketing is very much an investment, not a quick fix to something. Key statements, again, very important. These are your very high level strategic statements. So your mission statement, as it says there, formal summary of the aims and values of your company. So what you are, what you want to achieve, who you are and why. And your vision statement is very similar, but where you want to get to in the future. So it helps you to identify, the mission statement helps you to identify today. Your vision is very much helping you identify tomorrow. And with those two statements in place, you can develop the direction of travel really well. Key messages, again, important. Second tier down, if you like, in the level of importance in terms of strategy, comes from partly from your key statements, but also from how you want to communicate, what the messages are that you want to talk about. So you might be unique in your industry, you might have a very particular service, there might be a particular way that you do something. So the key messages are quite simple. You would never publish them online or in your marketing. You would refer to them and use them as the basis for what it is that you're saying. So it allows you to talk about the headlines, if you like, allows you to control communications and the narrative. So if you are working with different agencies, different members of staff and so on, it gives you context and gives everybody context for what's got to be said. Keep it simple, keep it clear, and don't mix messages. A key message is one message and that's it. So you can have many, but don't mix more than one message in each key message. Next one, your values, and these are obviously the ethical core of your business, what you stand for, what you want to be respected as, how you want people to understand you, and that will attract different people with different viewpoints. So it's important, actually, and we've seen lots of things in the news this week. I'm sure the behaviour of some retailers lying on boats off the coast of Monaco have different values to other people, and that's really important. So it's about how you want to be perceived and what's important to you. Tone of voice. I mentioned this a little bit earlier on, but the tone aligns with your core values. So if you're quite calm, relaxed, chilled out, then you would speak in that way. If your business is very corporate, you deal with other very corporate businesses, you would reflect that relationship and that sort of industry in the way that you speak. I'm not a big fan of jargon. I hate it, I have to say, even though I'm rattling through things that are 100% marketing jargon. My tone of voice, I hope, is always quite plain and simple. We like to educate and teach and explain the way that things are and why they are with people. Different marketers, particularly at a more corporate level, will dive into jargon straight away. And if you understand that, that's fine. But if with small businesses, I think which are the businesses that we want to work with, actually plain English is the way to go. So it depends on who your audience is, how you want to be perceived again, and the way in which people are going to engage with you and understand you. So words is exactly what it says. It might seem a bit daft, but actually when we write a strategy, we always write down a series of words, and they can be anything that relates to the business that's important. And some of those will pull from the key messages. Some of those will come from the services and the products, but it gives you a core of language to use, which allows you to keep everything consistent. And consistency is the key, when you're talking to your audiences. Marketing plans. So plans aren't quite the same as strategy, and there's often some confusion with this. Strategy is obviously the high level stuff that we've just talked about, which is your vision statements, key messaging, and so on. Plans is the actual activity that are going to be delivered, and they'll cover the channels that you're going to use, which you'll have researched as part of your strategy, so you'll understand where different audience groups are going to be and how they consume information. Campaign activity, so you may run short campaigns, long campaigns, you might not run campaigns at all, but it allows you to put in, a campaign is a funny thing because it has a beginning, a middle and an end, so it will stop at some point. So if there are particular things, then those would go in. An action plan of who's doing what to who and when and how. Pay and non-pay budgets, quite straightforward. Pay is obviously salary, non-pay is things like advertising budgets and so on. And then who and how, so who's going to do it and how they're going to do it. So that may include some of the technology and the platforms that you're going to use. So for example, if you use Hootsuite for your social media, or your website's built on WordPress, for example, those sorts of things could go in, and then you're able to assign who's going to do it, whether that's a member of staff, an external agency, you, or whatever. And then brand, and I'm not going to dwell on this too much, because for a very small business, the brand is essentially you. So people buy from people. Nike is obviously a brand. That's really important. It's recognizable, and actually Nike doesn't really say a lot in its marketing because its brand is understood. So they'll release a new trainer. You'll get a slogan and a lovely picture of somebody out running or something like that, but the brand is identifiable already, so it's already in people's minds. The level, for smaller businesses, yes, it's really important to have those elements in place. So a good, smart, tidy logo, understand what the colors are that you're going to use and stick to them, the fonts that you're going to use and stick to them, and understand the sort of images that you're going to use. So you may, for example, decide that stock images are the way to go. Personally, I'd rather eat my own head than use stock images all the time. Or it might be photos of, if you're providing an activity or something like that, photos of people doing things, that sort of thing, or headshots, or whatever the images are that are most suitable for your business. But they do need to be consistent. So it's important to have a brand built, and it's important to have those pieces in place. But unless you're Nike, logos, logos at that sort of level speak to you. They say something. They have a heritage. My logo is obviously the orange circle with the S and the C inside it. I hope that has some recognition. In terms of meaning, there's a long debate about the meaning of colors and so on. Orange is friendly, exciting, and those sorts of things, knowledgeable. Blue has trust and that sort of thing. I really wouldn't worry too much about that until you become Nike, but nice and smart and neat and tidy, and that will get you a long way. And that is my 10 minutes.
I would Hugo must be going absolutely nuts by the fact that he's got a number of clients in this room already.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that what he comes across as is really informative, fundamentally he's just securing the fact that we're paying our money in the right place.
Yeah, endorsing himself, really, basically.
I don't know what you mean.
I was in the first breakout room with Iain, so I've sort of had a little chat with him anyway. But I asked about the importance of actually having a logo, because when I first started my business, I did have a logo, It wasn't a particularly good one, by the way, but it was there anyway. And over a period of time, I thought, well, because people do tend to buy from people, they like to sort of see who they're doing business with before they do business with them. And I always advise my clients not to use a company logo for their profile picture on LinkedIn, because people don't really care that much about what your logo looks like, but they do care about who you are and what you're about. So I basically asked Iain whether he felt it was important for me to have, as well as my, as you can see behind me, my sort of Mark Coventry headshots that I use on the door of the studio and bits and pieces, whether he felt that it would be important for me to also have a logo that I could use. And I'll leave it to Iain to answer and tell you, well, why he answered what he answered to that question.
So the answer was yes and no. Yes for LinkedIn, because it's a professional network rather than a kind of traditional social media platform. So yes, absolutely, you would have a photo on your profile. For other, so the likes of Facebook, Instagram, business pages, forget about personal pages. You stick your own photo and do whatever you like with those. But for business pages on the other social networks, like Facebook, I would put, because it's square, and this was the kind of the conversation we had around Mark Coventry headshots, you always need a square for a profile image on a social media platform. So I would go for a logo in that instance. And then obviously in the content, and remember, not that many people are going to go to your profile. They're going to engage with you through your posts. So that's where you put in images of what you do, however you've decided to market yourself. So it could be video, and videos are really powerful. So that's something else we sort of talked about, is posting videos of yourself talking about whatever. And for Mark, it could be the service, it could be explaining how you take a photo, it could be anything. But that's where you get that kind of engagement personally. So I would always put a logo on the social media platforms, with the exception of LinkedIn, which should always be a headshot, which Mark will do a marvelous job of taking for you.
Isn't that a logo already that Mark's got there? The Mark Coventry, is that not a logo?
It is, but the problem is it's not square. So you can make it square, but if you then post that into a social media profile slot, it will be very, very small. Okay. So you're going to have an awful lot of white and teeny tiny writing. So yes, it is a logo of sorts, but so you can have, our logo, we've got that round orange blob with the S&C in the middle, but we've also got a long one that's got the orange blob on the side, and then Stonehouse Communications to the right of it. So that that's another option. So Mark, if you were to have a logo made, you could add that to the left of your Mark Coventry headshots.
Yeah, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. So great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Like my little house.
Yes.
Yeah.
My little house in the James.
Mm-hmm. Yours is slightly different because your text is actually square.
Yeah.
So I use the house when I'm having to do things square, but obviously it bolts on to the rest of the image, as it were.
Yeah.
But the whole point, and with all of the brands that we've got, we've always built the branding around trying to look like a far bigger business than we actually are. Because it inherently, with the product that we sell, it buys buyer confidence. So I suppose part of the sort of, with Mark's side of things, is you're buying from Mark. You buy into Mark's personality, and without your head, there's no headshots, because let's be honest, you've got a niche in the market that you can make someone feel very, very comfortable very, very, very quickly, and then get results very, very quickly, and that's your selling point. So it almost comes secondary to the imagery that is, as I've got to know Mark, he's got a very distinct style that you could put any image pretty much anywhere, and I could probably out of a lineup pick out Mark's imagery, and that's his brand. Whereas with me, I don't really necessarily feel like I need to be the face of the business, and that anyone in the business needs to be the face of my business, because I want to give the illusion that there's a lot more people in it than there is.
Iain, away from your, well, including in your presentation, with this quantum cryptology, are you saying that they can work out your passwords then? For using this new computer can work out everybody else's passwords from the old system?
As I understand it, a quantum computer can hack anything that works on current technology.
And China have got it.
Allegedly. I mean, we're talking nation states and intelligence agencies.
This is James Bond stuff, isn't it?
It is a little bit. It's very Star Trek-y. And it's a whole... I mean, my kids are at an age where 2/3 of the jobs they're going to be applying for don't yet exist. And this industry is one of those areas. So, and because it's light, you're then into the realms of all kinds of things, real Star Trek-y stuff. I mean, I'm not going to claim to be an expert because I'm not. I've just sat there in the meeting going,
it's actually not just lighting, and it's the quantum state of atoms.
He said,
and it's because what computers work at the moment, and something's either 1 or 0. But in a quantum state of an atom, it can be spin right, spin left, spin up, spin down, all sorts of different states. And the more states you've got to represent something, the more, not so much the more information you can sort of bring across, but the more pieces of information you can actually compute at the same time.
Okay.
So it's all about getting kind of a throughput. And because quantum computers are so much faster, anything like any computer can work out a password. But the thing is, it may take the computer that's sitting under my desk here, might take it 100 years to do so. Whereas a quantum computer will do that in 100 milliseconds. So that's the big difference. Yeah.
Wow.
It's an interesting times, all right.
yeah.
But when they start to use those to work out things like weather forecasting and climate change and climate activity and stuff like that, that's when it's going to be really interesting. Real-time modeling.